Well, we got everybody here. Good morning. Good morning. There's no place like home. Coming home to Buffalo in the dead of winter. But the whole state is freezing, so there's no relief anywhere. But it's been, I'll comment on that later. But as you all know, it is an honor to come back here and to do my first event with someone who's been a long, long friend of mine since his early career, and that is our mayor, Sean Ryan. So I'm looking forward to working with him on public safety and talking about the finances of the city and talking about infrastructure needs of the city as well. So we're going to be great partners. Our interim commissioner of police, Craig Macy, thank you for all you do, and our men and women in blue. I am grateful to everything you do, and from the time you wake up in the morning till you go to bed at night. You're out there helping people during storms and trying to rescue people, and you are the reasons we can talk about some really good statistics that we were not able to talk about a few years ago. Hey, Chris. We weren't able to talk about this a couple years ago. And I want to thank the council members for making the investments in public safety with us. You have a lot of my friends are council members here as well. So, and all of our community providers who are the ones, the front line, the violence disruptor programs. I work closely with them. My husband worked closely with them when he was the United States Attorney and worked in the U.S. Attorney's Office for 30 years. So this is really important to me to be able to come here and say how extraordinary the numbers you're about to hear are. I mean, it's just no one could have predicted the rapid decline in crimes all across the state, but very especially here in Buffalo. So it's well known that keeping people safe always has been, always will be my very, very top priority. And I'm standing with the dedicated public servants and community leaders and the men and women of the police department who have done so much. And also, as I mentioned, the outreach workers who sometimes use their own life experience to talk to young people and say, you don't want to go on this path. And those are the best trusted messengers we can find. So I want to thank all of them for what they do, putting their energy into showing young people there is a better path forward. But I like to check in with the police on the ground. We're here at City Hall today, but when I came back last January on another cold day, I went to the C District and I saw the new equipment, the hotspot policing and the drones and all the other equipment we were able to help with from the state. And I stopped again at headquarters to talk about our efforts to drive down crime at a time when retail theft was high, but also car theft. Buffalo and our upstate communities had some of the highest numbers of car thefts in the nation. So I just want to say we've been on a long journey together, and as Buffalo Bills fans, we never spike the football, and we also never say mission accomplished. But we're here just to take the temperature and talk about the progress that's been made, and to thank those who've been involved in this. Mayor Ryan and I were talking about just a few years ago when I first came into office as governor. Everywhere was facing a real crisis of crime and violence, and the numbers were heading up exponentially in a very frightening way. It was sort of coming out of the pandemic, and I'm not sure what happened. Sociologists will have to figure out what happened to society during the pandemic, but it just seemed like the wheels came off. I mean, there were so many more crimes being committed. I feel like people felt no restraints on civil order, and as a result, people were afraid to leave their homes, afraid to go out into their communities. And, shootings in Buffalo had nearly doubled from the previous 2 years in that time after the pandemic. And these are my neighbors. This is something that was personal to me, to figure out a way to help not just here in Buffalo, but all across the state. So we got to work. We enacted the toughest gun laws in the nation, especially after the racist shooting at Tops, which I've referenced many times as we had very tough gun laws, but we found some gaps. We found that we could do more on the red flag laws. And we also need to go back and have some common sense legal reforms. Our job is to keep repeat offenders off the streets and not make it harder for judges to prevent that from happening. And we also just passed some major change to our discovery laws last spring that are going to stop people from walking on just mere technicalities. And so all these these changes in laws, but also a $3 billion investment from the state of New York. I mean, that is extraordinary. But I come out of local government. I've hired a lot of police chiefs in Hamburg and police officers and interviewed them and knew how hard they worked every single day. And I know it's hard because you're trying to manage your budgets. You've got limited resources. You want the best technology you can possibly have and the best people, but you never had a partner in Albany. And I knew that from my local days. And I wanted to change that whole dynamic and to say, no, you do. I understand how important your job is to keep people safe, and I'm going to be your best ally. So over $3 billion, and wanted to make sure that Western New York got its fair share. So We did $6.2 million for Erie County through our gun-involved violence program, which is really an extraordinary program that you can just see the results every single day. Buffalo PD received directly even $2.1 million. And what's that for? It is for personnel, for overtime, for equipment, and enhanced training. $14 million for Erie County to upgrade their crime-fighting technology. And also the Buffalo Police Department used $6.8 million to buy license plate readers, a 3D printer, a scanner, public cameras, and other state-of-the-art tools. And we also invested nearly $3 million into our Buffalo Snug program. And again, this staff, they're able to be out there mediating disputes even before shots are fired. So it's all about crime prevention, which is making a profound difference, and to connect young people to training and therapy and to jobs. Now, another $2 million for 17 community organizations through Project Rise that supports people out there for programs and opportunities that change people's lives. So Buffalonians are much safer, much, much safer than they had been just a few years ago. When we compare 2025 with 2021, when I first took office, shootings with injury in Buffalo are down 67%. Violent crime is down 20%. Murders are down 55%. And in 2025, they hit a 10-year low. We're still gathering the numbers from last year, but right now we're even looking at car thefts. Car thefts are already down 33%. Yeah, we are in a crisis situation. People, and these are a lot of times just Hyundais and some of those less expensive vehicles. Someone might have a 10-year-old Hyundai that was stolen. They're not getting to their job as a nurse at the local hospital. They're not getting to school. They're not getting to the grocery store. So it really had an effect on people's lives. These brazen gangs that were stealing cars all over upstate New York. So this is real progress. And as I think about those numbers, I just want to give a round of applause to everybody here and thank them for all you've done. Great partners. But we're not done. Because one crime is one crime too many, and we're doubling down on what works. And that includes $350 million more to combat gun violence. And even with the shootings at record lows, I'm still investing more to make sure those numbers stay low. I don't want to take our foot off the gas and then see an upward trend in crimes, and that we're not going there. We're not going to let that happen. So I want to make sure that we're also changing the law when it comes to one of our newer threats, which is 3D printed guns. These are homemade killing machines that you can assemble with pieces without a background check. You can assemble it at your kitchen table. And I don't want these people to convert their homes into firearm factories, which we've outlawed in the state of New York. So we want to go after what we call the plastic pipeline, not the iron pipeline, but the plastic pipeline. And we're going to pass a law I just introduced that require all 3D printers to include software that blocks the printer from creating a gun. So we outlawed 3D printed guns, of course we did. But now we're saying any 3D printer sold in the state of New York must have software that blocks the capability to even create these deadly machines. And we'll have stiffer penalties for manufacturing ghost guns as well. Want to help law enforcement, have police be able to use wiretaps to get stronger cases. And also, we're going to ban handguns, because I also saw 3D printer does. Handguns can be already converted into semi-automatic machines able to fire 1,200 rounds per minute, made with a little plastic device off a 3D printer. So you can have a Glock, you can add this device, and it goes from this handgun to a machine gun, 1,200 rounds per minute. So my message to gun manufacturers who think they can sell these, you're not selling them in New York. Once we pass this law, that era will be over. But also, I want to continue working with our friends in Buffalo. You're the ones on the ground, especially our law enforcement and our violence disruptor groups. You see the trends. Again, the trend toward 3D guns was not even there a couple years ago. The high spike we had in car thefts was not there. You see first what the trends are, what the emerging trends are, because it's like playing whack-a-mole. The criminals are very clever. So we stop them from doing this over here, they're going to do something else over here. So I want to keep the line of communication strong. The trends are starting to emerge. Let's see how we can get on them easier with our crime analysis centers and track trends across the state of New York and put a real dent in and thwart their efforts before crimes are even committed. That's how you keep people safe, and I'm really honored again once to work with someone who understands this, and that is our Mayor, Sean Ryan, who I'm going to welcome up to say a few words.
Thank you. Thanks so much, Governor. Well, it's such a privilege today to host Governor Hochul in my official capacity. It's an honor for me. I've worked with Governor Hochul for over 20 years, and county government and state government, and as she became the chief executive of New York State when I was still in the Senate. So we work closely. Western New Yorkers, we often share a real commonality of how to approach things. It's often a very pragmatic approach. It's not a complicated approach. We want less guns on the street. Well, you pass laws saying you can't sell these guns in New York State. It's a straight line, and the money that the governor has put together through the GIVE program, the gun-involved violence elimination program, that's a straight line. You're funding police departments, but it's not just police departments, right? So it's the 360 view of crime for prevention. It's people with the SNUG program, violence interrupters, Project RISE, all those folks working together under the leadership of the Buffalo Police Department, our Commissioner Macy, but also behind us all, these are the community police officers in the city of Buffalo. They're the ones who know what's going on in the street. They have time to talk to people in the community, and every one of the Common Council members, we're all in the same program. We're so happy with the state's grants that help us reduce our shootings. So here's the good news. In Buffalo, since 2021, shootings are down by 2/3. Gun deaths are down by 2/3. This year compared to last year, it's only January data. But in January, we had 11 shootings. This January, we have 3. So all the factors are going the right way. But as the governor said, it doesn't stop when we get the good numbers. In order to keep those numbers where we want them, we have to keep this effort going. And the legislative package that is introduced by the governor this year to further make sure that illegal guns aren't making their ways, to the street. But the GIVE program, it allows us in the Buffalo Police Department to do targeted enforcement, working with violence interrupters and community partners. And at the same time, the governor is pushing laws to make it so it's harder to put illegal guns on the street. So thank you very much, Governor Hochul, for all you've done to help drive the crime rate down here in the city of Buffalo. Thank you.
While we have everyone, we're just going to take a couple on-topic questions on today's announcement, and then we'll break before we do some off-topics. Does anybody have on-topic questions?
Can you talk about how you measure the effectiveness of gun prevention programs?
I think the first way you measure them is the numbers we're talking about today. I mean, these are extraordinary numbers. But as my team will tell you, I'm very much a technocrat when it comes to evaluating whether or not the money put behind programs is actually delivering. And I'm very excited because it sounds like a different topic, but it's not. What we did with Empire AI and making that massive investment in building the nation's largest supercomputer dedicated for AI for public good, the University of Buffalo, I'm actually going to be using that to put in all the programming I have and have artificial intelligence be able to tell me what is working as well. So that is an initiative I'm excited about. So that's one little further down the road, but I want to use technology to help me decide, is our money being spent in the best places? Because if it's not, the money's going somewhere else. We're not going to keep anything just going along because it was funded years ago with a certain hope, but that hope has not materialized. But when I talk about the GIVE program and our direct money for law enforcement technology grants, big parts of our $3 billion investment, I know those are working. The numbers bear out. We do a lot of analysis across the state. The uniformity between all of those locations that have those dollars to give communities, it is almost identical to what we're seeing here in Buffalo. So I know that money is making a difference. And the other way I get data back, I talk to the police officers, and they tell me what's working. And it's the money that we did for, and I'll just digress for a minute, but a year ago when I was visiting the C precinct, they had just received money from the state for new drone technology, and literally told me that they were trying it out like maybe a week before, maybe 2 weeks before, and there was a woman that had, maybe with dementia, had wandered out of her nursing home and was buried in a snowbank, and no one could find her. Am I telling this to you? Were there. You were there, former mayor. And because they had the drone with the infrared technology, they were able to find this woman buried in the snow and get her home safely. And they said if they did not get that technology from the state just a short time before, they would not have been able to do that. So those are the kind of stories that I'm paying attention to. So I'm going to keep investing in those for sure.